Hey beer lovers, Dave from Pints here to tell you about our April Brewery of the Month, Exile Brewing Company. And we have just the right person to tell you about it, the founder himself, RJ Tersey. RJ?
My name's RJ Tersey. I am the owner and founder here at Exile Brewing Company.
So tell us, RJ, where does the name Exile come from?
The name Exile comes from the Emma Lazarus poem, The New Colossus, which references the Statue of Liberty as the mother of exiles. My grandfather was an Italian immigrant. He came over to the US when he was 9 years old, and those roots for us and that story, you know, what he did in coming over, what his family did in coming over, and the way that he worked coming up, you know, it created the opportunities that we have right now. And we thought that that would be a nice tribute to my grandfather to name the brewery Exile Brewing Company. So in 2012 when we opened, we sold maybe 200 to 400 barrels of beer down here at the brew pub. In 2019, we sold about 13,800 barrels of beer all across the state of Iowa.
That's a great story, RJ. Thanks for telling it. I know you pride yourself on your lagers. Was there any inspiration behind that?
The first beer I ever had that was, you know, like the light shining down on it, the angels singing type moment, you know, when I was drinking that beer. It was in the Czech Republic at a brew pub, very famous brew pub there called Ufleku. And it was a dark lager. The beer was absolutely incredible. I had no idea that beer could be like that. So when we opened Exile, we knew that those were the type of beers that we wanted to make. We wanted to make lagers. We wanted to make beer that was extremely smooth, extremely well balanced, and extremely easy drinking.
Wow, you know, it's 9 a.m. and I'm already ready for a beer. Tell us about Gigi.
One of the first beers that we ever brewed, and it's still one of our flagships, is Gigi. That's a dark lager. Is it as good as the beer at Ufleku? I can't say that, but it has won a gold medal for us at the Great American Beer Festival, so we're pretty proud of that. When you're drinking that beer, some of the things that you should be experiencing on the nose, we believe there's a lot of cocoa powder, a little bit of hazelnut, and definitely some coffee and espresso aromas. It's a dark beer, but super, super approachable and actually very light for a dark beer.
Wow, you've inspired me. As you can see, I found a beer. Now tell us about Ruthie.
Yeah, so Ruthie is our flagship gold lager. It's our most popular beer. It's a huge crowd pleaser. So when we say lager, that's specifically referring to the yeast strain, but really what makes that beer special is how much time it sits in our lager room, cold conditioning. While it's in there doing that, all the yeast is just chewing up any sort of harshness or off flavor, anything that could be in that beer other than just the beautiful flavor that you're getting from the noble hops and the malts that are in that beer. And once it's done, you just have a really nice baked bread aroma and flavor combined with a nice honey aroma and flavor, and then just a little subtle noble hop floral aroma to balance it out.
Nice, sounds tasty. Now what's the story behind Ruthie?
So Ruthie was a bartender here in Des Moines during the 50s and eventually opened her own bar in her early 20s, I believe. So it's like, all right, female bar owner in Des Moines in the 50s, super young. That in and of itself is a great story. But then the things that start taking it to the next level, she became famous or infamous, depending on your perspective, for serving the beers in a very unique way where she would set the glasses on her chest, she would pour the beer bottles into the glasses and serve it to her customers that way. She was selling beer for over 50 cents a bottle when all the other bars in town were selling them for less than 20. She was constantly packed. They had a lot of grandparents who knew her, and the grandparents would, you know, light up when oh, Ruthie, oh, I knew Ruthie, Ruthie served me this and that. And so it was like that story was almost gone, and we've been able to bring it back into our culture here with the brewery. So we're really happy about that.
Great story. I'd overpay for beer too with that service. Now tell us about Beatnik Sour.
Beatnik Sour, yes. Beatnik is our flagship sour beer. It is a great intro to sour beers, in my opinion. It's not crazy off the chain tart. It's not too sticky. like all of our other beers, it has a really good balance and nice flavor.
Awesome, but I love sour, so I don't need an introduction. How do you decide on what beers to brew anyway?
So making new beers for us, I'd say there's a number of different ways that we get there. A lot of the time it's a pretty disciplined approach, like these are the different kind of beers that we want to make. Layout, this is the appearance, this is the aroma, this is the flavor, this is the mouthfeel. Really getting the beer onto paper and then giving it to our head brewer and saying, all right, can you make this happen? Other ways that you do it is just by reading books. Honestly, you can make something new that's actually really, really old that people don't even know about.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you do it so I don't have to. But if I'm going to buy your beer, tell me this. What's important to you as a brewer?
So our trademark is far from ordinary, but really why we do what we do, it's all about relationships for us. So we view beer as something that can facilitate relationships. The beer, the food, the experiences that we're trying to create down here, it's all about building relationships between our fans in the brewery, and then also between our fans, with each other, so that they can build their own community around what we're trying to provide.
Well, as a bar manager, I'm here for that too. But I'm happy to name you as April's Brewery of the Month. Cheers.
Cheers to you, Pints. Thanks so much for having Exile as your Brewery of the Month. We hope that the rest of the Chicagoland area has as great a taste of beer as you do.